Tonight on Joy News Prime, $36.5 million Commander Sugar Factory rusting away after production hit a snag 5 years ago.
What no kwisi na sisi we yedwuma sugar factory o musu pa dey taxpayers money and abenu akohwe bose we baby na da ba dem adis wo won wie na aben fofo abada no so watu na adwo dem corner abenda da ogbe no.
Government mounts a strong defense of its Agenda 111 project aimed at improving healthcare infrastructure and ultimately healthcare delivery at all levels across the country.
But where there's a will, then there's a way. So if you don't have the will, you won't have the way. But if you have a government which has a will, which has a vision, and the vision, I believe that when you're having a vision, you don't have small visions.
Meanwhile, it has dismissed claims by the minority. Some 600 million Ghana cedis has already been spent without any explanation.
And maybe when you look at the budget, we will see if 600 million has actually been spent. I don't believe that.
Also tonight, UTAG agrees to call off strike as NLC and Employment Ministry take steps to discontinue legal processes against the striking lecturers. We'll bring you details on that. Later in business, Bank of Ghana support more fintechs and small businesses to aid the country's cashless transition.
Facilitating SMEs' participation in a digital economy should enhance efficiency, extend market reach, and build their capacity to generate employment opportunities and boost economic growth.
My name is Ernest Min, and Joy News Prime is coming to you live from our studios at Fanofa here at Kukumle Main Accra. We're on your digital TV because we are free to air. DSTV channel 421, Go TV 144. This is your home of independent, fearless, credible, and impactful journalism. Stay tuned. Hello again, many thanks for joining us wherever you are. Now, government has mounted a strong defense of its Agenda 111 hospital project aimed at improving healthcare infrastructure and ultimately healthcare delivery at all levels across the country. The project, scheduled to be completed in 18 months, is expected to deliver to each district a world-class health facility capable of attending to all major ailments. But the opposition NDC and their MPs in Parliament have already raised concerns and questioned government's ability to carry through the project. The former president, John Dramani Mahama, on his thank you tour yesterday, said government only introduced Agenda 111 after it realized it had nothing to show in the area of infrastructure, especially in the healthcare sector.
Were criticized by our successors, as overborrowing. But like you were saying, a lot of what we borrowed for was tangible for people to be able to see. From 120 billion cedis total public debt, today we're almost hitting 400 billion, 370 something billion public debt, and what most Ghanaians ask is, what have we done with this money? It looks like most of it has gone into consumption rather than into providing the kind of infrastructure, that we need. It's only as an afterthought that suddenly they realize that, we must be doing some infrastructure. So Agenda 111 has been conjured. There's no transparency how the money is going to be, procured and all that. Is it going to lead to more borrowing, when we already have, such a high level of debts, hanging around the country's neck. But there are also hospitals that we were building. Boga Central Hospital, we did the first phase. There was a little left. We were supposed to get equipment from Saudi Arabia to finish equipping it so that we could utilize the first phase. And we had also programmed the second phase. That has come to a standstill over the last 5 years. There are hospitals in other regions that we were putting up that also have come to a standstill. In many places, the wind has blown up the roofs of the buildings. Fire has burned some of the buildings. It's sad to see something like that because, as I said during the campaign, it's not my money. The money didn't come from John Mahama's pocket. It's our money as a country. And so when it goes to waste like that, I think that it's not something that is it's reasonable.
But today, the Presidential Advisor on Health, Dr. Anthony Siasari, has responded, rejecting the description of the project as an afterthought. In fact, he says the Akufo-Addo government is visionary and has the will to implement the project for the growth of the country.
And I'll explain why some people are saying, why don't you finish the other hospitals before you start doing hospitals in the other places? If you are in one of the districts, I'm sure you will be annoyed. You will not say that. And secondly, Ms. Ankansa has gone through to tell us that every hospital project that you have has a source of funding. If it's Eurojet funding, if it is VAMED funding, if it's NMSI funding, you don't go and use Eurojet funds to go and do NMSI funding, because they are external funding. And this, what we are going to do, government is going to fund it. And I'm sure somebody will ask, where are you going to get the money from? But where there's a will, then there's a way. So if you don't have the will, you won't have the way. But if you have a government which has a will, which has a vision, and the vision, I believe that when you're having a vision, you don't have small visions. Small visions are no vision. And it's in the good book, the Bible, that if you don't have vision, it means you are lost. So this government has vision. And if you look at it, the government has a vision towards human capital development. One, digitization, to make sure that we have smart economy in this country. The second one is to have educated people in this country, the free SHS. And to me, the third one, which I'm very happy about, is to have healthy people who will do all the work in the country to create wealth.
He's also been responding to claims that government is using the project to create jobs for friends and party members. He explains the steering committee at the presidency is because it is a flagship project and the president wants to have direct oversight over its implementation.
The project coordinating committee, yes, as I said, His Excellency the President, this is a flagship program. And he wants it to be in his office under his watch. And the project coordinating committee is made up of Ministry of Health, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Works and Housing, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, and then the Honorable Chief of Staff is the chairperson, and people from the Office of the President. We have other subcommittees, which are the technical subcommittees. We involve the technical members from the Ministry of Health, technical members from the Ghana Health Service, and technical people from also the consultants who are there. And as I said, there are 14 zones, zonal consultants. So it's not that we've left anybody outside and the government is doing that. The president wants to have oversight responsibility over this so that it works. I'm sure that's what Ghanaians want. That's what everybody will want to see, that this project is done and done very well.
The Presidential Advisor on Health also says he cannot believe claims by the minority that government has already expended 600 million Ghana cedis on the project.
And maybe when we look at the budget, we will see if 600 million has actually been spent. I don't believe that. I know that for the past 1 year, this committee plus the project steering committee and all the subcommittees have been sitting in the office, in the rooms and closed doors, and we've been working assiduously towards this. That's the reason why yesterday it ended up that the president have to commence the projects.
The Health Minister, Kweku Agyeman, was there and he rejected the minority's claims about abandoning health facilities littered across the length and breadth of the country. He says the COVID-19 pandemic affected the project timelines, but many of them are still ongoing.
Has been abandoned. We did a lot of short-cutting on some projects, and we are being asked questions as to why these projects have not started or have not completed. Let me state that it looks like very soon, very quickly, all of us Ghanaians are forgetting about the fact that the world was hit by a pandemic which disrupted normal economic activities. Projects like La, Shama, 12 different hospitals to be done by just one contractor, VAMED from Europe. We did short-cutting for all of these in October, November. By December, COVID second wave has hit Europe, and this attended disruptions. Anytime there's a lockdown, some people go to 2 weeks, they don't go 2 weeks. Up to even today, some banks are still practicing that social distancing model for workers. Flight disruptions and cancellations and restrictions and quarantine and certain demands at certain airports wouldn't allow easily contractors and engineers who are coming to engage us to begin work for these projects to be done. And these are things that have actually delayed some of the projects we did shortcutting for. Kolebu, if you go there now, you'll see some good work being done. The nephrology center, the maternity block. We are now looking for funding to try and tackle the surgical block that is looking so nasty in Kolebu. UGMC phase 2 is virtually completed now. The place has been operationalized and is working. We even came to do some extra work on Ridge phase 1. Ridge phase 2 had problems because after change of government in the US, the funding agency, American Exim, we met them on 2 occasions. They didn't make provision for the phase 2.
Away from Agenda 1113, food vendors at the Kwame Nkrumah interchange risk being taken to court should they fail to take advantage of the 7-day grace period provided to them to fix the unhygienic conditions under which they prepare and sell food. Officials of the Environmental Health and Sanitation Directorate of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly gave them an abatement notice, and there's more in the following reports by my colleague Mamiesi Thompson.
Awaya high. Ebe lead to adi ayefe no food poison. Adent na America star. Bibia ewo konkomu. Utwa mu wie pe. Na from ramu a. Aka kakra be ba o say adi black bi ewo nchan.
Florence Kuchi, Metro Public Health Director, inspecting food items stored in a freezer outside the kitchen of Easy Food Joint near the Kwame Nkrumah Circle.
This is green pepper. It's been there for more than some time. And she would use it, and she's still explaining that a block and just look at Senior.
Canned tomatoes and other food items stored in dirty containers under wrong temperatures. The owner of the food joint, Alberta Omari, admits her wrong. But she's not left off the hook. She has 7 days to fix the mess or face the court.
We are taking action against her for one, leaving an open tin food in the fridge with the open can. And also the fridge is very dirty. She has to clean the fridge and ensure that where she is preparing the food is neat and hygienic. She will call the officer in charge of this area to come back for re-inspection. So we are giving her an abatement notice to abate all the nuisances that we have come to find here.
Nearby is this dirty, dusty, windy Banku joint. Director of Environmental Health, Joseph Asitanga, queries the owner.
The whole thing is that here, she's not even supposed to be here. When we look at the distance between here and the railways, it's not proper for human settlement, not to talk of commercial activity as a restaurant. But whatever means that she has found her way to this place, we are serving her a letter to relocate this particular shop bar that she's preparing the food here.
Those caught under the bridge littering were made to sweep.
This place was cleared in the morning, and the officer in charge knows that they have come to clear this place and they are at a different place, only to come around to see the junkies come and fill this place up with waste. How can we go? This is the country we are living in.
Hawkers at the OA station without masks had their wares confiscated and then compelled to buy and wear masks before they were allowed to go.
It's not about buying it.
No, we're I should buy it for you. I don't have money to buy it. You don't have money to buy it, so I should buy it for you. So if we arrest you, I will know. Because the law tells you, you are aware of the law.
No bear bomb, me a grandma. Mention no bear bomb. Men bomb me, one other chance seven transit.
Put on your, no, he should put on the mask before the come. No, master, let him.
Environmental Health Director Joseph Asitanga promised to strengthen enforcement until attitudes change.
It's a wake-up call to the Metro Public Health Department. I think that we have somehow, some way, relaxed on the routine enforcement of our laws. So this is a call that me myself, at my level, I feel embarrassed that my director gets here, and that some of the things that the people are working under me are supposed to know, that they seem to make like they are ignorant about it. So every day, like I rightly said at the beginning, this is going to be a routine exercise every Wednesday, because this area is a large coverage area, and it's a transit point for all passengers and business people. So we will be very grateful that your attention and care, time that you are giving to sanitation will make sure that it get a very good, meaningful impact within the lives of people within Circle here.
Let's do some stories on education now. The University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, has agreed to call off its 3-week strike following an emergency meeting with the National Labour Commission and the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations. This contained in a leaked memorandum of agreement between government and UTAG. The striking lecturers are demanding the implementation of a 2012 single-spine package which put entry-level lecturers on a salary of $2,084. In a meeting with UTAG today, the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations, in conjunction with the National Labour Commission, agreed to discontinue all legal processes against the striking lecturers. The association has released a statement that contains some of its resolutions, and will bring you details on your screens. It says that both parties, that's government and UTAG, agree there's a need to get back to the negotiating table from the week beginning Monday, 23rd August 2021. Point 2 says that a roadmap for negotiation as agreed at previous consultative meetings between government and UTAG, which imposes a 1-month mandatory period beginning 23rd August 2021 for negotiations, shall be signed by both parties. That whilst the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations, in conjunction with the National Labour Commission, is taking steps to discontinue all legal processes, teachers, the University Teachers Association of Ghana, suit number given there, UTAG will also take steps to suspend the ongoing strike action. The 4th resolution says that the government acknowledges the need to improve the working conditions of university teachers and shall treat this with all the seriousness it deserves. So let's go to the phone lines now and speak with UTAG President, the National President, Professor Charles Marfo. Thank you so much, sir, for your time here on Joy News Prime. Are you satisfied with the outcome of today's meeting?
Yes. I mean, once that we put pen on paper on certain resolutions, that really says that we are. But as you rightly noted the point, things must be done, right? I mean, we have given 30-day mandatory period within which issues must be resolved. And so we hope that is the case. And you can also realize that we talk about suspension. I've been listening to you and you talk about calling off the strike. I mean, it's very different from we suspended the strike, which is really written in bold places.
Okay.
So that is what the case is.
And so when can we formally expect that you announce the suspension of the strike? How soon?
Clearly, as you see written there, steps need to be taken. Just as government also needs to take steps to withdraw all cases. And so we expect those to be done.
And so the condition precedent is withdrawing the case in court. The court date, I understand, is tomorrow. And so later tomorrow or the day after, we should have a statement from UTAG. That is, if the condition is met.
Exactly. Not really condition precedent per se, but you know, we belong to different constituencies, about 13 universities. Having met government and agreed with this, and one would want to respectfully go to his or her constituency to inform its members, right? And that is why those taking steps was necessary, So that is how it is. And really, technically, if all the things that we've done, because we needed to sit down and talk, so that the conditions of services will be discussed or negotiated. And one knows that just common labor laws, one could not be in negotiations and still be on strike, right? And so there was the need to suspend the strike, and that is what we intend doing.
Given the spirit of the negotiation today, the meeting today, I should say, are you confident that the roadmap that has been set for negotiation will be followed?
The good thing is that both parties signed to the document, and that really brings some sense of confidence. And so I hope that none of us renege on what we have stated.
Professor Mafo, we'll leave it here. We'll be following this up, especially after the court case tomorrow. We'll be in court to find out what happens, and then we'll be expecting your statement shortly after. I'm grateful for your time. That's the National President of UTAC, Professor Charles Mafo. The aggrieved public sector workers have issued a one-week ultimatum to government to reverse what they call the abysmal 4% increase in salaries. The workers who hit the streets of Accra Wednesday protested the percentage negotiated by their union leaders and vowed to resist any increase below 10%. They claim the introduction of the new taxes and the increase in transport fares rendered the 4% insignificant. My colleague Chrissy Parker-Wilson monitored the demonstration and has come through with the following report.
We've been able to contact one of the parliamentarians, and he has received the document on behalf of the rest. And we have also planned that we would table a petition each to Speaker, Majority Leader.
He said the Speaker says he does not receive petitions. And receive your petition.
Yeah, even so that means that even when he receives it, he cannot work with it. That is what he means. But what we are saying is, yes, we are going through the right procedure. That does not also stop us from giving him a petition. We think he's, how do we call it, a native of the land that needed to know what actually is happening. So if parliamentary procedures prevent him from receiving an official document from us, we are giving it to him unofficially. We want him to study it and know the situation on the ground. It is not always right or true that you have to use procedure. Sometimes you forgo procedure, look at the intensity of the issue, and you resolve it. That is why we think that, whether officially or unofficially, he must be petitioned.
But you said that you had contacted 10 members of parliament. Who are these members you contacted?
I wouldn't get the names offhand for you, but we did a lot.
That comes to that.
We did a lot. We did a lot.
And their response?
Honorable Kujetwa Blakwa, and some few others.
Were they in the minority or in the majority?
Oh, both majority and minority, because we are not, how do we call it, a politically affiliated group. So we were thinking, that's why we were even targeting Speaker. We thought that neutrality could set in trying to help table our issues for them to have them redressed. But they are telling us that we should still come through the main door, of which we have done today, and we are happy.
But how do you feel that the members who represent you in the parliament or in chamber that refused to accept your petition?
That,
1 out of 10.
Yeah, it's worrisome, but it's so because obviously the issues we are mentioning, they have about 90% in there. We are talking about Article 71 office holders. And when you mention that name, the first name is parliamentarians. So if you are petitioning against the vast difference between them and the public sector worker, you will know the natural feeling. I hope you understand. So if they say no, I don't begrudge them, but it doesn't also prevent us from doing what we are supposed to do.
But you are disappointed that, this happened?
Somehow, but we managed to present the petition.
So who is this MP who received the petition?
Honorable Bachman received it on behalf of his boss, the Honorable. It seems the name has escaped.
Which constituency does he represent?
Eswejaman or something. Eswejaman, yes, sir.
See, and what do you expect from him?
We expect that he will table the issue through the right channel. That is the standing orders. He will use the correct standing orders of the House to table and raise the issue before the floor of Parliament for the issues to be attended to as early as possible.
You have staged a street protest. You have talked about your concerns. How soon do you expect government to address them?
We have already contacted them through notifications, letters upon letters, and we are thinking that they could have even started resolving the issue before today's petition. So we are given a timeline of within a week, of which we expect them to at least act as fast or as early as possible. That notwithstanding, or if that doesn't happen, it means that the actions we plan in the various regions that may take off simultaneously may have to start, and that is not good. It is not good because I even feared the number, so I am very much okay. This is the number that came. Should we have the real number we were looking for, it will be very difficult for the police to control because the people down there are very much annoyed. They are very much annoyed because you cannot go to the market, increase lorry fares by 13% for the drivers. These bread bakers, whatever, have increased theirs by 20%. It means that the average percentage in the market is around 15 to 20. So you don't give 4% to go and compete with 20, 25, 30%. You yourself, you've also increased what we call you've introduced taxes. You understand? And when you sum up the percentages, we are getting about 30%. So why do you create an average percentage of 15 to 20? Then you are asking public sector workers to take 4 and walk into that same market and come and compete with you. These people we are talking about, do not pay anything. You take everything for free. Almost everything is for free. So what we are saying is that it is not that we are saying reduce yours from 79, raise ours from 4, so that we'll be getting closer, as directed by the Ntiamo's report.
So anything below 10% is a no for you?
It's a no. It's a no-go area. Not at all.
And finally for me, did I hear you say the chief labor officer has effected the payment of the 4% salary?
Yes, it has been effected already, and I'm surprised because per the act, you see, so illegalities going round. You won't understand why would you implement something when the document says when negotiations are completed, make sure that it takes 3 months for it to be gazetted.
And people who represented you completed negotiations.
You completed negotiations and it didn't take you. You have to, after completion, 3 months. It is not that through the process 3 months. After completion, wait for 3 months. So it means that there should be some kind of acceptability from the people. So amidst this hula balloons, noise making, and you still think that you should go ahead, it means there wasn't even negotiation at all. That is what I think. That the 4% figure is a cooked one, and they are trying to push it down the throat.
So they should halt the payment.
They should halt the payment. We don't need it.
You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Mino. Still to come, $36.5 million Commander Sugar Factory rusting away after production hit a snag 5 years ago.
What time no kwisi na say we more sugar factory or musu pa dey taxpayers money and aben akwa hebo say baby no da be dem adis wo won wie na aben fofo abada no so wat na adwo dem account aben da ogbe no.
And in business, Bank of Ghana supports more fintechs and small businesses to aid the country's cashless transition.
Facilitating SMEs' participation in a digital economy should enhance efficiency, extend market reach, and build their capacity to generate employment opportunities and boost economic growth.
We have details of this and more after the break. Stay with us.
Welcome to Business. I'm Charles Aite. The Bank of Ghana is taking several measures to aid the country's quest to fully move towards a cashless society. To this end, the central bank is working with banks and financial technology firms on how small firms can be assisted on this move. George Riafi has more in this report.
Engagement by the Bank of Ghana is coming under its Business Sans Borders program that seeks to develop a network of digital platforms to aid cross-border trading. The program brought together some bank managing directors at the Bank of Ghana, fintech operators, and business leaders in the country. Opening the forum, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, noted that the time is right to give small businesses all the needed assistance so they are not left out as we move towards the era where little cash is used in all financial transactions.
One of the objectives of the payment systems reforms is to achieve financially inclusive and an economically empowered society. Delivering an economically empowered society hinges on strong SMEs, which account for close to 90% of businesses. Therefore, facilitating SMEs' participation in a digital economy should enhance efficiency, extend market reach, and build their capacity to generate employment opportunities and boost economic growth. In addition, the broad-based acceptance of digital payments by SMEs will scale up products and services deployment and provide digital footprints for improved credit services by financial service providers.
The governor also added that as a host of the African Free Trade Area Secretariat, Ghana must take the lead in developing the required digital platforms to aid international trade.
With massive investment in the financial sector infrastructure, a reliable and widespread telecommunications infrastructure, a biometric national ID of high coverage, a robust and resilient banking sector, and a vibrant fintech ecosystem, the stage is set to facilitate Ghanaian SMEs' effective participation in the global economy via these initiatives. In 2020, the Bank of Ghana took another bold step to address SMEs' access to digital merchant wallets with the creation of 3-tier merchant account categories. This enabling piece of policy has flexible and proportionate onboarding requirements that recognize the peculiarities of businesses within the SME category.
Dr. Ernest Addison argued that as a regulator, together with government, they have provided a required supportive environment when it comes to policy regime for banks, special deposit institutions, fintechs and SMEs to fully take off when it comes to us moving towards a cashless economy.
Away from that, the co-chairman of the Ghana Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, Dr. Steve Mantial, has defended his support for the government's move to acquire some oil blocks from the Cape 3 Point for the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC. He supports the idea because there will be technical knowledge transfer to build capacities here in Ghana and enable us to take charge of our oil fields in the near future. Speaking to Joy Business, Dr. Mantial, however, called for further assessment of the oil blocks before the final agreement is signed.
We are an emerging oil producing country. These international oil companies have been able to maximize their benefits. They made a lot of profit from extracting hydrocarbons, and now they are investing these profits in renewables. If we were to abandon our fossil fuel in the ground, the only option we have as a country is to go and borrow to invest in renewables. I don't support that. I would rather that in the interim, between now and the next 60 to 80 years that the EU projects, the transition will last. Let GNPC move in there, produce oil, let's make all the money we can, and then have a national strategy that reprioritizes the ABFA and invest in renewable energy technology.
But another argument is that they are going to borrow to buy these shares or stakes.
Yeah.
And they don't see the business sense in it.
Yeah, but all the companies, the international oil companies, they borrow. We are not going to be the first entity to borrow to finance our operations. The question we should be asking is that when we borrow X amount, what profit do we get when we invest? I think that is the picture or the side of the picture that my colleagues are not looking at. GNPC does not have the capacity. And that is why, and what gladdens my heart is the fact that under this arrangement, GNPC and ACE are going to set up a joint operating company. So GNPC becomes the apprentice. They are going to teach them, they will learn how to do it by doing it. And then they transition and GNPC takes over. You can't and in fact, there is no monetary value to this arrangement. ACE is not going to charge us for training us to be able to do it ourselves.
Well, still to come in the bulletin, $36.5 million Commander Sugar Factory rationed away after production hit a snag 5 years ago.
No, sugar factory. Oh, musu pade, taxpayers' money, and I been acquired with baby not about bed, the maddies were I won't be not before Abadan, so watch not more. The me a corner abandoned or bueno.
We have more in the bulletin. My name is Charles IT. Many thanks for watching the first segment of business. I'm back after 8. Do stay.
Thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. Ghana's dream to produce sugar locally has set a snag because the Commander Sugar Factory has been idle for 5 years. The unpleasant news is that the $36.5 million facility is rusting away. Machines have badly corroded and the roofs are badly torn. Jojo Kobna just returned from Commander and reports that even though the factory is just 5 years old, it looks almost 20 years old.
This is the factory that is supposed to be producing sugar for the country, but it has been idle for 5 years. The roof is rusty and worn out. Before we get into the details of the current state of the factory, let's trace how Ghana found itself in this situation. It may sound basic, but Ghana had a dream to start producing sugar locally. Hence the rebirth of the Commander Sugar Factory. The old factory, built in 1964, became defunct about 30 years ago. A loan of $36.5 million was invested into the factory. Resuming operations at the factory was a perfect opportunity to do things right this time around and cut down on Ghana's importation of sugar.
So as I speak, every single cube of sugar, every single grain of sugar that we eat here in Ghana is imported from outside. Commander is going to change that. It is my honor and my pleasure to declare the Commander Sugar Factory duly inaugurated.
Excitement created the commissioning of the sugar factory in 2016.
The inauguration of the Commander Sugar Factory will provide jobs. It is estimated that in full production, this project will provide direct and indirect jobs to an estimated 7,300 people.
Unfortunately, the facility shut down in July 2016 because of inadequate sugarcane. It was due to reopen in October 2016, but never did to date. Since then, there has been a flurry of promises to get the factory running.
Because some factory the amount of land we need for the sugar, the type of sugar we can grow here, all those things were not properly organized. I think our organization. Our organization and also the between strategic investor and also it me aba global bisomu na enche obeti bibi papa free menum enche kra.
But it took 2 years before the government announced a new investor for the sugar factory.
This factory, like any other factory, will keep on needing ongoing investment, ongoing, retooling, and if that is done, definitely it will keep running and it will bounce back.
When are you starting work?
We are waiting for the final agreements to happen. After that, we'll start working.
It is past the second week of August, and the Commander Sugar Factory remains closed. Currently, the facility is in terrible shape. A comparison of the factory in 2016 and 2021 shows the factory is deteriorating.
There sits the Commander Sugar Factory in its rusted glory. It has been abandoned for so many years. It is not producing sugar. And there are so many youth in the community needing jobs, and they have none.
The plates and rakes that would carry the sugarcane for crushing have rusted. The new investor would have to spend more money to re-revive a new factory that was shut down just months after commissioning. A journey to the roof with a drone reveals further deterioration. Parts of the roof are rusted, worn out and torn. The roof is riddled with holes, and with the onset of the rains, it is obvious the rains seep into the factory. A group calling itself Concerned Citizens of Commander is upset. Their convener, Samuel Awuja, is dismayed.
I quite remember about last 2 years, the Trade Minister, Honorable Ahunkalinsi, said the traditional area should look for land. We've been able to do that. We've been able to secure about 3,500 acres of land, and that is even far beyond the expected 2,000. So as for the land we already have, it's now left to the government to come and operationalize. So anybody who talks about sugarcane and land issue, it's a non-starter. They shouldn't even go there, because we have land available, and then the sugar plantation was also done. You know, it takes 6 months for the sugarcane to be ripe for the factory. When the government came in, it's been 5 years.
The land reserved for the cultivation of sugarcane around the factory has been left fallow, and along the beaches of Commander are people yearning to be employed once the factory is reopened. Joseph Eshen is unemployed. His friends, who could not stand the pressures of unemployment, have migrated to Accra and other parts of the country, hoping to get non-existent jobs. Sharing their disillusionment and absolute displeasure, the residents pleaded with the president to fulfill his promises.
What no kwisi na sisi we yedwuma sugar factory or musu pa dey taxpayers money and aben akwa hebo se we baby na da ba dem adis wo won wie na aben fofo abada no so watu na adwuma dem akona aben da obo no watu na adwuma ho na adnis wo na adno rust aben we di ehwemo bebre akofo adu na aben we di ehwemo bebre alba bet na the promise akohwi promise ngotin Albert na the promise akohwi ngotin nti akofo adu odi ehwembo especially commander for odi ehwembo as commander sugar factory be about to da men ebe no waje mu ankasa ho krade sisi ade ma hu nde se aban biba na be ade this one mo wi a aban fo ba ade no continue ye no waje ade mo esiwo sisi Ghana dam na wa abadema yaditi akawa na sisi Ghana akawa wa abada busi akọ gbogbo na amana ni yada ba ye mbunjuma ma ye nwie ma aban fo abama no so am so dem me ya listen o ye wankasa o ma fix your sugar factory man na ye rules.
Now we are doubting them so much, and we don't believe them. The fact is that for a first term of office 4 years and a second term of office, all this was strategic investor. It has been given to strategic investor. At least, of course, we are young guys here, and such promises have been coming and gone, and we are not seeing anything. So for now, we don't trust them.
Sugarcane farmers are also disappointed. The secretary of the Sugarcane Farmers Association, Aze Kwaku, says his members are now frustrated because they have to give all the harvested sugarcane to Akpeteshie distillers at heavily discounted prices. This is because the supply of sugarcane is more than the current demand.
One answer no water. One answer one dozen. Kumebi no water so water on credit basis. Until my pharmacy is covered there. Also weni nti oma marketing your correct nti wutu ahwenu tugu sesi anu yedi yo pa yesi ndi yo anu yizatro yidi yo oye no yezi nde edwuma bia ni keyi ha na aduma ya aduma edwuma wode edwuma bi sia anka na expect na government wutum obey obotumu aboa ma factory no farmer factory no otumu edimu ma farmers nso yotumi yeska.
They have more raw materials than ever anticipated, so they do not pay the farmers on time. Revival of the Commander Sugar Factory would not affect them in any way. This is because they can always get the molasses from the factory to distill at Petition. No crushing of sugarcane, thereby reducing their burden. So even though Petition distillers are benefiting from the abundant supply of sugarcane, they still want government to make the factory operational. The Member of Parliament for the Commander Edna Iguafo Ebrim constituency, Samuel Atta Mills, asked the Trade Minister in Parliament when the factory would be operationalized.
The Ministry of Trade and Industry, working in collaboration with its transaction advisor PricewaterhouseCoopers Ghana Limited, is in the process of concluding the conditions precedent for the activation of the concession agreement with a selected strategic partner, Park Agrotech Limited, to commence operations at the Commander Sugar Factory. Government has a right to terminate the agreement. But be that as it may, we are hoping that they will conclude and finalize the fulfillment of these conditions conditions precedent by August this year. And then once that is done, it paved the way for us to require the company to commence activation of the company before the end of the year.
Until the factory becomes functional, it will remain a museum of monumental wastage and failure. Jojo Kobna, Joy News.
Very sad story there, but up next is sports. My colleague Hans Mensando is standing by with the latest. Take it over, Hans.
Thank you very much, Ernest. And former Black Stars defender Sam Johnson has told Joy Sports Ghana can only end its 39-year wait for an AFCON trophy if the right players are selected. The Black Stars, who last won the AFCON in 1982, face North African giants Morocco, Gabon and Comoros in next year's tournament. Sam Johnson reckons Ghana can challenge for the trophy if there is no nepotism in player selection.
It's very, very sad that Ghana, for 40 years, it's too long. It's very, very long for Ghana not, be able to, win the trophy, So this is the time we have to put everything aside. And I'm always saying this thing that people don't feel like, there's a lot of changes in our football right now. There is a lot of agencies in the football right now. We need to choose the right people at the right time. That is when we can do something. Because all this time that we are doing where we are doing this, we are calling the people that deserve to be there. The people that deserve to be there. And if we keep doing that, then something can come up. Because if you look at the squad that went to the finals, you can't take anybody out from that squad. You can see what is going on. After that, what is next? And we are bringing this agency thing, and it's covering our football. And especially, I'm always saying this, and I'll say it again. The journalists, the media, those who love football, they don't talk about these things because they also have friends who are doing these things. And until we stop doing those things and do the right things, somebody will be asking before, is this thing not there? It is there. But maybe they are doing 5 or 10% of their own, and they are doing 90%.
Hearts have had a memorable 2020-2021 season, winning the Premier League title and the FA Cup, a double for the first time in 21 years. They also boast of standout players like Benjamin Ofutu, a midfielder who netted 8 times in all competitions, Salif Ibrahim, the current home-based footballer of the year, and goalkeeper Richard Atta, whose penalty won them the MTN FA Cup. Board chairman of Hearts, Todbe Afede the 14th, has tasked the playing body to aim higher in their career.
What we here want to do is to create for you a platform that will enable you to attain the highest possible in your professions. That is where our joy is. That is where our joy is. If I hear 1 year from now that one of you is in an English Premier League club or a Spanish La Liga club, that is where my joy would be.
As winners of the league, Hearts will now represent Ghana in the CAF Champions League. They will kickstart their campaign against Guinean side CI Kamser in the preliminary round. Todbe charges the team to make their mark in the competition.
I want to also emphasize that you are all capable of it. Sometimes the problem is that you don't imagine you can be there. I want to tell you today that each one of you, with hard work, can be there. And I'm happy to always share with you my own experience. You think that when I was your age, I thought I could set up an airline? No, I didn't. You think I thought I could build a power plant? No, I didn't. You think I thought I could be a shareholder of House of Folk? No, I didn't. But these have become realities.
Well, here's Sam Johnson earlier, and just gone by was Hearts board chairman Togbe Afede, who has charged players of the club to put in their maximum best to enable them succeed in the Africa Interclub competitions. That's it for sport, and that's it also for viewers on Joy Prime. The news continues here on the Joy News channel.
And the beautiful Becky is here with the day's latest. Hello, Becky.
Hello to you, Ernest. How you doing?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm fantastic.
What do you have for us today?
I'm talking about festivals today.
Okay.
So first of all, I would like to know where you're coming from.
So I'm from Kunyako in the Central region.
And
that's Aguna Kunyako. Yeah.
So your festival is?
Akwambo.
What does it represent, though?
I have no idea, Becky. that's sad, but I don't know. But I know it's Akwambo.
Okay.
Maybe one of these days I should go back.
Yeah, and also maybe one of these days we should travel to the northern region because something is actually happening now as we speak. It's ongoing.
Okay.
It's called the Bugum Festival. We have some videos from there. Yeah, so it's actually the Bugum Festival, which is also known as the Fire Festival. It's a cultural religious festivity which marks the beginning of the Dagbon year. So that's just basically...
I've heard about the Fire Festival.
Yeah, so it's happening today. Well, it's ongoing. And so that's what's happening in the northern region right now. So so what we will say to the Northerners up there is that happy Fire Festival. And let's say a very big thank you to Al-Hassan Soumani Jr., who made those beautiful visuals available for us this evening.
So that's tourism right there.
Right there. So I'm very excited. I want to visit the northern region. There's so much happening there, and
we can plan a trip there.
Let's do.
All right.
Let's move on. Let's talk about the media and the music industry. So Akwabwa Jr. and Uta Ifriye, they are calling for fair play. For all musicians. They believe that the media concentrates more on send people in the industry and they sort of leave some people out. So basically that's what they're saying. Let's listen to them.
Yes, I think we are doing a great job together. I think the media, we the entertainers, we all work hand in hand, and I think so far not bad at all, but there's still room for improvement. I think it's what we need now as musicians in this very competitive industry is a fair play ground for everybody. You see, if we all have the same playing time on the field, I think given that chance, there are people who can do more than they are doing now. As I speak, I always say to some of my folks I talk to that if I were a cement block factory, I would say I'm probably producing maybe 10% of the average blocks I could have been producing if things were, conducive enough for not just me but other colleagues as well. So I think we are doing a great job, but like Bob Marley said, usually the vibe is not about the person singing, but what the person is saying. That is what we should look at more. So the future is bright, if you ask me.
I think, yes, it has a lot to do with the media. Yeah, because you're big boom boom cha and stuff, they're going to play and stuff, but then, hey, we barely understand what Mayway says, what Yusundu says, but we still love their songs. And those people are going everywhere, touring everywhere. If we want to tour, music is not a joke. So we can't basically put our eyes on just the lyrics, just the beats and everything, and that's it. You get my point? We should be able to put the two together, the melody, the instrumentation, and the message together and sell it out there. That's only how somebody would want to listen to what we have. You get my point? And take us there, because really sometimes you guys, you talk about some unnecessary things that you don't have to give your ear to. You get my point? Than rather promoting what's necessary.
Free and Akwaba right there. Let's talk about theatre in Ghana.
Yes, what's happening?
So, Lateef Abubakar.
Something must kill a man.
Something must kill a man. We're patiently waiting for that. But he is saying that some Ghanaians are yet to understand really and also get to appreciate theatre here in Ghana. Here's his explanation.
For theatre plays in Ghana, extremely good. And then COVID came in, it was massive. We're expecting that this year's own will be better than the 1,005 audience base.
What do you think accounted for the drop after the initial successful takeoff? Could it be the patrons didn't like what they came to see?
No, the patrons actually liked what they came to see with regards to Romantic Nonsense.
So why didn't they come back?
Because when we did a repeated show, the place was full again.
So why didn't they come for the subsequent ones?
So it was the choice of partnership too as well. Okay. So when we went back, we realized that the choice of partnership, we actually did it with multimedia. And I had a conversation with Philip some time ago. The first one was multimedia. The second one, was it deceived or brainwashed to change partnership? And then we did, and it didn't work out well. But subsequently, when we came back to multimedia, it never worked out well again. And it was so difficult to explain why. And it was so difficult to explain why it never worked out again. We tried so many things. It takes time. It took so much energy, time, door-to-door campaigns. And so it's not just about the radio advert and TV advert that makes it happen. It's just that you realize that a lot of Ghanaians actually do not accept theatre.
Lateef Abubakar there.
Well, I love theatre, and I'll definitely see that play.
So if you're a Ghanaian and you love Tyler Perry, you should, also appreciate your the theatre guys here.
The playwrights, yeah. They're doing such a great job. So grab your ticket, come to the front desk of Joy FM, Kuala, and all the outlets. Make sure that you relax with family, friends, and, enjoy yourself. We've had a long year battling COVID.
Yeah.
It is now time to just let your hair down. Thank you, Becky.
Something must definitely kill a man.
Maybe this one will kill me. Thank you, Becky, for the latest in the world of showbiz. There's at least some relief for some of the victims of last Thursday's flash floods in the Upper West region that cut off 8 out of 11 municipalities and districts from the regional capital. In a brief remark before handing over the relief items comprising food items, mattresses, blankets, rubber buckets and clothing, as well as plate, Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz Bin Sali states that the people of the region are in difficult times and need the support of all and sundry. Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Nadoli.
The past few days has been a nightmare and frustrating for personnel of the National Disaster Management Organization, though they have some relief items on hand to make initial distribution to some of the affected areas. They themselves are cut off because they can't reach the affected communities. Apart from the terrible inaccessible roads, they also need boats and canoes to reach some of the communities, as explained by the district chief executive for Nadelukeleu, Catherine Lankono.
My district is an island now. We need boats. Maybe we should consider that because those of us in the low-lying areas closer to the Volta Lake, I should appeal to regional minister so that maybe the fisheries department or fisheries ministry, for that matter, can consider giving us some boats so that in seasons like this we can use those ones to move, because going towards the western part is very terrible, and then it's only that the boats that we can rely on for now.
Unable to reach those communities, it was therefore decided that the various assembly members who did the initial assessment of the disaster from the electoral areas should be given the task to receive the relief items on their behalf. Ahmed Mustafa is the Upper West Regional Director of NANMU.
Some of the communities as we speak now, we cannot go there. And we came to this conclusion because some opinion leaders actually agreed and suggested to us that we should continue to use the assembly members. And they represent us at the local level, whatever that they are going through, but they cannot be left out because of the pain. They are actually looking up to the assembly members to go off the situation as of now. So using them in the same way to get this materials to the people, I think is the best option. And I believe my district directors are equal on standby to assist them in any other guidance such that the people should receive them.
Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz Bin Sali, who doubles as the chairman of the Regional Disaster Management Committee, presented the relief items to the assembly members of the two West Head districts, Nadoli Keleo and the Fiema Bure Isa.
We are in a difficult period, and we need the contribution of all and sundry for us to be able to mitigate the suffering of the affected persons. We are here to hand over some food items, that is 100 bags of rice, 30 boxes of cooking oil, 4 bales of blankets, 10 bales of used clothing, 30 pieces of plastic buckets, 100 pieces of plastic plates, 200 pieces of plastic cups, and 50 pieces of student mattresses.
Presiding member of the Nadolo Keleo District Assembly, Osbert Dambia, received the items on behalf of the affected victims. Meanwhile, there is a relief of a sort for commuters who would like to go to Nadoli and the Jiriba municipality. Some young men from the Fiema, led by Na Edmond, mobilized sacks and stones and dumped them on the Don the Fiema road that was cut off by the floods for easy movement of vehicles and pedestrians.
For the money, there is one of our brother voluntary give us, some little amount to bought, and then some people that is passing this this road, because they give us 16 sacks. So these 16 sacks, it didn't get to any this end, and then we took some little here, and then we managed to buy these sacks.
Reporting for Joy News, Graphic Salam, Nadoli.
There was mad rush for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine in the Ashanti region as the exercise winds up. Long winding queues have characterized the exercise, which officially ended Wednesday. The situation is the opposite of how it began last Friday in 4 hotspot districts in the region. Currently, 4 districts account for at least 60% of COVID-19 weekly infections in the Ashanti region. However, residents of Kumasi Metro, Asokwa, Ofoyokrom and Kwadaso municipalities have had to endure several hours of waiting to get their jabs. Ohimi Terry of our health desk has been monitoring the situation and now reports.
The vaccination exercise has been characterized by long winding queues, some as long as 2 kilometers. The Kumasi Clinic is among centers with large number of patrons. Among those in queue are people not living in any of their affected districts. Health authorities are not enthused about the situation. A man from Etimetimasi in the Afijakwabre South District says he's taking advantage of the exercise, though his district is not covered. Nonetheless, they are hoping to be vaccinated.
Adena ufri Etimetimasi bewo panye ewo Kumasi.
Stations omo bino ahano beme. Ntinema memba hano.
How long have you been here?
6:30 and 7 o'clock.
So we are doing almost 2 kilometers from the main vaccination center here. And all these people you see here are in the queue. I'm sure these women are tired and they are taking some rest down here so that they get the opportunity to be vaccinated.
Over 30,000 people have been vaccinated so far, with over 20,000 doses yet to be administered. Dr. Roxanne Michael J. is the Deputy Director in charge of public health in the Ashanti region.
The loads of people you see here, it will pertain for Monday. As I said earlier on, the weekends was very calm. The weekend was very calm. It's been a bit turbulent in terms of numbers turning up. And since we left with some doses, and the message is also out there that we are going to run out of vaccine, we expect such clamor or such huge turnovers in our various centers. Quite are so called that they run out of vaccines, and that is all that they have. And they still have some people yet to be vaccinated. So we are trying to mobilize from other areas to be able to satisfy those who have come to queue since morning. So for them, it's likely to close today, because when the 300 people are done, they won't have any more vaccines. The other areas also have equally high number of people turning up to get vaccinated. So we are limited by the number of doses we have, and that is about 50,400. For us, the lesson we have learned is, moving forward, the next time we have campaign for a particular area, we may have to strategize about our communication, because some of the people are coming from other areas, though we may be able to turn away some of them by convincing them they understand, but some still demand, and beyond certain points, you can't push them away. So we still give. Maybe you have to look at how to communicate within the local settings, within the community, so that the people who are eligible for the vaccine, in terms of place, community, they can get a vaccine. Because now if we have more people coming from outside these hotspots, it tends to dilute the impact we want to have. Because when we're able to vaccinate the people staying within that hotspot, we are likely to bring down the infection. But when we have other people coming to consume the vaccine in the hotspot, you still have the people who are supposed to get not getting. Though the vaccines will be consumed, but it's going to spread out thinly within the Ashanti region, and that impact we want to have will not be there.
According to Dr. Michael J., the Health Directorate is compelled to extend the deadline for the exercise till all those in the queue are served. He said there are about 20,000 doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine available to be administered in a few days.
From the Monday, it's been very, very turbulent. People are all over, and from all the centers, they are always having people queuing up for the vaccine, which is why I'm saying that we're going to extend it a bit so far as we have vaccines. And we are not likely to extend beyond Friday, looking at the rate of consumption that we are doing on the average about 9,000 doses daily. So if the rate should continue, it means that today, tomorrow, we'll be done with all the doses that we have received.
From Kumasi, for Joy News, Oyime reporting.
Now, the former chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osei, says the country's justice system risks losing legitimacy if nothing is done to address perceived inequalities in the administration of justice. The former EC boss recently took to Twitter at the height of the campaign for the resignation of Health Minister Kweku Agyeman to post a tweet which many linked with the resignation calls. Madam Osei, who was removed from office after reports of procurement breaches were made against her, will not confirm her "Dear Karma, please calm down" tweet, and had to do with the health minister's controversy when she appeared on the Joy FM Super Morning Show. She, however, explained democracy is only strengthened when people are not treated differently when they fall foul of the laid-down procedure.
One of the cardinal principles of the rule of democracy is the rule of law. The rule of law simply means that every citizen should receive the same treatment. As soon as you start making distinctions in how you treat citizens, whether it's in the law court or before Parliament or in the court of public opinion, what happens is that the institutions start losing the trust of the people. And when they lose trust, they lose legitimacy. The rule of law must apply. We must treat all people the same. If the law is broken by Winston and we sanction Winston, when Kojo does the same thing, we must sanction Kojo. Otherwise, we're creating a system of inequality and injustice.
Someone will ask the question, so if we feel that Charlotte Osei violated procurement rules, how about Ajiman Menu?
You have answered your own question. Next question, please.
That's the feeling you have?
I don't have any feeling. You answered the question. You asked and you answered.
So I'm asking you, that's the feeling, is that a feeling you have?
The public can judge that.
When asked why she put out the karma tweet, this was her response.
Talk about karma. Karma is the biblical equivalent would be what you sow is what you reap.
Exactly.
And we always look at it as if you sow corn, you would not reap beans. But we forget that if you sow one corn seed, you are not going to reap one seed. It grows into a plant, it produces a lot of fruit. So there's the principle of multiplication in everything that we do. And even our thoughts are seeds, our actions are seeds. And when you reap it, you reap in multiples. And that's why we should also be very careful how we manage certain situations. Because, you know, this thing is like a roller coaster. That's just how life is. It's up and down, round and round. So we should be guided.
And in being guided, that seed that was planted years ago.
Ah, well, we're all watching the harvest, aren't we?
We're watching the harvest.
I guess so.
What was the seed that was planted years ago?
Ah, well, that's a book. Topic for another day, yes.
Topic for another day.
Yes.
Okay. Somebody wants to know whether, so, I mean, we're talking about Kweku Agyemang Menu at the time, Health Minister.
You are, I'm not.
No, and we, including, I was part of it actually.
That's you.
Yes, we're discussing it, and then that tweet comes in because Kweku Agyemang.
A little mischief is good for the soul.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
She was also asked what she did on election day, that's 2020. This was her answer.
You on the 7th, 8th, and 9th of December 2020?
At the beach.
You didn't vote?
No, I didn't.
You didn't monitor the elections?
No.
Why?
Why should I? Did you?
I did.
Yeah, that's part of your work. Huh? You were paid for it, weren't you?
I am paid for that.
Thank you.
I'm only asking to find out.
I wasn't paid to monitor the elections.
Okay.
So I can't have time with my children at the beach. What's your problem?
No, as a former chairperson of the Electoral Commission.
Former?
Former, yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's former.
I thought you should be concerned about elections. You're concerned about the situation in...
That's your feeling.
Well, you're concerned about the situation in SAL.
Yes, I am. But what did you want me to do? Go and knock on people's heads and say...
Maybe go and vote?
In SAL?
No. Wherever you registered?
How does that change the fact that elections...
Did you register?
No.
You did not?
No.
You don't feel like wanting to have a lot to do with our electoral system?
That's not true.
Okay.
To a certain extent, but again, I'm entitled to my... remember, you're asking me questions like I'm a public official. Remember that I'm not a private citizen. I can do whatever I want to do.
Okay. I know.
Within the remit of the law, of course.
I know. And that's why these are questions. And
yeah, that's why I was at the beach having
fun. You've provided
fun.
answers.
Thank you. I'm being nice today.
Charles Aite has more in business for you. Please stay.
Hey, welcome to Business. The Ghana Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, in collaboration with the World University Service of Canada, has taken further steps in its quest to increase women and youth participation in mining and oil and gas sectors. Here's more from a validation workshop as part of the project.
The collaboration is aimed at ensuring Ghanaian youth and women benefit from the production of oil in the country as well as the mining sector. The project, which is concentrated on communities involved in mining, oil and gas, is expected to empower them economically and increase local content. Here is Coordinator for West Africa Governance and Economic Sustainability in Extractive Areas, Wages, Rosemond Aina.
Aims to facilitate economic development for women and youth in mining areas or extractive areas. The objective is that mostly women and youth are excluded from the operations of mineral resources and its related activities. So the project main objective is to be able to support them who are mostly vulnerable to ensure that they participate in all the mining activities that happen. That means facilitating business development services for them, ensuring that they are able to sell some of their services to the mining companies through procurement and other related services that the mining companies will require.
Co-chair of the Ghana Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, Dr. Steve Mantiao, says the initiative is very critical for the country. He explains the importance of women in the extractive industry.
Basically, there is a recognition that even though women tend to be impacted by the sector, the mining and oil and gas and all that, for instance, if communities have to be relocated, it impacts women in terms of the distance they will now have to travel to their farms or the distance they will have to cover in search of water and the rest. However, when we are taking decisions around relocation or even decisions in terms of how to manage our revenues from the sector and all that, we do not actually prioritize the interests of women. In fact, the women do not even have opportunities to participate in that discussion in terms of even trying to influence decisions around expenditures in a way that supports their livelihoods. And so we're hoping with this particular program, in terms of when we comply, to now get women's issues addressed within the context of policy, but also within the context of decisions around how to use oil revenues and to meet the needs of women. The EITR multi-stakeholder body itself.
A report on strategies to achieve set targets is expected after the two-day validation workshop.
The Finance Minister, Kenneth Ofori-Atta, has indicated the government is looking forward to the National Development Bank taking off in October this year. Now, the government has put in place the necessary structures and personnel pending Bank of Ghana's approval and license and issuance. Finance Minister Kenneth Ofori-Atta spoke to Joy Business.
EC is important for capital markets because you are then beginning to look at the real issue of infrastructure needs and long-term capital, which has been the bane in this country for a while. So we need to get creative about it. And in there, of course, is embedded the inauguration of the Development Bank of Ghana.
You talked about the National Development Bank in your presentation, right? All of that things being equal. Are we looking at somewhere in October that it will quickly start?
I would imagine. I hope we can do it. We have now sent the final list of the board to the Bank of Ghana, so we hope to get approval. We have selected the first CEO, so he will be 24/7 from now, and we expect therefore for an efficient execution of that.
When are we finally hoping that the government take a decision on how to use the special drawing rights from the fund?
I mean, the board approved of the fund, and on the 23rd of August, I think automatic disbursement to member countries of 100% of their quota will be effected. And then we would work on parameters such as immediate COVID-related needs, and also looking at a medium-term program to see areas that are important where the nexus between finance and health meet.
Now, figures from the Ghana Export Promotion Authority show that Ghana's handicraft industry contributed a meager 0.5% to non-traditional export in 2019. Now, this poor statistic is the reason why GEPA is scrambling to facelift the arts industry through the Sound Art Premium Art Exhibition this week. Of course, this report captures the quest by Ghanaian artist Kweku Gyamfi to facelift the industry in his own way. I've come to meet pensioner turned artist Kweku Gyamfi. He was curious to venture into the arts considering its economic value.
Well, I really don't have a degree for it, but I love this, and I'm always with the artist, you know. Yeah, when I was a kid, I started, you know, sketching and all that. I met a friend, and he's also an artist. So the interest is there. And if you love something, you know, and you're very passionate about it, that's when, you know, you go about it. So all these kids out there, you know, people say, hey, you're talented and it's God's gift, but man, trust me, you got to work at it.
Kweku Gyamfi is part of several other artists who will showcase their talent in this week's Sound Out Premium Arts Exhibition by the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. He is confident his strides will pay off.
There's an art exhibition coming up called the Sound Out Premium Art Exhibition at the Conference Center, Accra Conference Center. I'll be on the 21st to 27th. And I want to make sure this black gold is in there so that, you know, I represent the ladies. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. See, this is the base of the whole thing. We're trying to get in pastel effect, you know. So we got the bold colors now. You are now going to go on top of it with a thick paint. And try it. Let me see how you go.
Even as I took my turn behind the canvas, Kweku Gyamfi explained to me the intricacies of making art what it is, appealing to the eyes.
Yeah, the pastel effect. It's a different technique altogether. You know, when you're done and all the colors come together, it will be like the black gold, the one that
the one that I saw.
you know. Yeah.
So should I keep doing it this way, or I should just spread this around?
Yeah, just spread it around. You see the thick paint? Yeah, that's what you want to. If you continue, you become a professional.
The handicraft industry in Ghana contributed just 0.46% to the 2018 non-traditional exports. That's a little above $12 million, but inched up to 0.5%, making $14 million in 2019. These are figures from the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, hopeful of improved numbers through promotional events such as the Sound Out Premium Arts Exhibition. I'm Charles Aite reporting for Joy Business. And of course, and that's how we end this edition of Business. Coming up is Sports to Stay.
Thanks for staying with us. Time to bring you the second installment of Sports. And marketing manager of the Ghana Football Association, Jamil Marabi, has told Joy Sports his outfit needs to raise about $3 million to ease the financial burden on the 18 clubs in the Ghana Premier League. The domestic top flight has been without a title sponsor since 2018.
Sure. And how quickly do you think humanly possible it is for us to achieve and get the kind of millions of dollars we want? We just finished one league, okay? So we do have people who want to sponsor the league, but it's not to the amount that we want. So do you think that we can accept $100,000 For
the season.
Thank you very much. We can't. We can't accept 200. We can't accept 300. We can't accept 500. If we accept 500,
Okay, so
then we need about 3, 4, or 5 sponsors together, bring in 500. Then we can run the Premier League. But we can't just take one sponsor giving us 500,000 or 300,000 or 200,000 and accept it. We can't, because we will devalue our product, and we believe that the Premier League is of that stature where we need 3 million. Minimum, if we have done our budget, we have our numbers. Minimum, what we need is 3 million to assist the clubs, and then the clubs can get their own personal sponsors, to support them. But that doesn't mean that we're not working. We're still, working hard to try and get the money that we need to assist our clubs.
A former skipper of the Black Stars, Asamoah Gyan, has admitted that the country's inability to win the Africa Cup of Nations is frustrating. The Black Stars have not won the continent's most prestigious tournament since 1982. My colleague Charles Macarius has the rest of the story.
Despite the team's ever presence in the last 4, in the last 7 editions bar 2019, the country's wait to win the tournament appears unending. And Gyan, who captained the team in the 2015 final, said it has been difficult to accept.
Yeah, it's been quite frustrating, since 2008. Our worst is the semi-final, so it's like we've always been coming closer to the cup, but we don't get it. I think back home, everybody wants nothing but the cup. It doesn't matter about the performance, it's about the cup, so that is what we're praying for.
Ghana's Black Stars has been housed in Group C alongside Morocco, Comoros and Gabon. The 4-time African champions will open their campaign against Morocco, a side that conceded just a goal during the qualifiers before facing Gabon and debutant Comoros. Gyan, who scored in 9 consecutive tournaments for the Black Stars, believes the team has been put in a group they cannot afford to underrate any opponent.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky group. Morocco is up there. I think he conceded just 1 goal in the qualification, which I think is statistically is one of the strongest in the group. Ghana is also up there. That's my country. I'll be rooting for my country. But everybody who is qualifying for the African Cup of Nations is coming to win. So statistically we are up there, but we don't know what is going to happen. We just have to stay focused and do what we can do to just qualify from this group, and then we see what happens. Because without a group, you cannot think about winning the cup. So we have to make sure we qualify from the group stages, and then we think about winning.
The Black Stars will be based in Cameroon's capital Yaoundé and will open their campaign against Morocco, followed by Gabon, and then wrap up against Comoros. Their first match against Morocco is scheduled for January 10, before playing Comoros and Gabon on January 14 and 18 respectively.
That's it for sports. There is more at myjoyonline.com/sport. I am Hans Mensando.
And that's our show for tonight. Many thanks for your company. You have more stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com. And these are some of the stories you've been reading on MyJoy. Some police officers deployed for anti-robbery duties in the eastern region were on Tuesday attacked by a robbery gang. The robbers, allegedly wielding AK-47 assault rifles, were on the Achim-Etokum-Bunsu stretch to rob commuters when the police bumped into them. The robbers, according to a police source, upon seeing the police vehicle, opened fire. Let's bring you more in this report. The police officers, who were taken by surprise, took cover and returned fire as the driver drove to safety. The exchange of fire, which lasted for a few minutes, forced the robbers to flee into a nearby bush. The patrol team could not find them. The police further mounted a search in nearby houses and some health facilities, but to no avail. However, after searching the crime scene, they were able to retrieve 5 shells of AK-47. DSP Ebenezer Tete speaks for the Regional Police Command.
Were robbers who attempted robbing commuters on the Etokum to Bunsu section in the eastern region. Police vehicle number GP146 that was carrying anti-armed robbery task force of the Eastern region to various sections, including the Chukum, Usiem, and other sections. Unfortunately, chance upon these persons who were attempting to block the road and rob commuters on the road. On seeing the police, they shot into the bus, but unfortunately, none of our men have sustained life-threatening injuries from the shots fired from the robbers.
And just before we take leave of you, the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Environment and Sustainable Development, Professor Eric Nyako Samson, is calling on government to put structures in place to make teaching lucrative to attract the youth. Speaking at the launch of the Ghana Teacher Prize Award 2021, President of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, Angel Kabonu, called on government to recognize the hard work of teachers. Theophilus Saki's report read to you.
The National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, is calling for laid-down procedures to help better Ghana's education system. Speaking at the launch of the Ghana Teacher Prize Award 2021, President of NAGRAT, Angel Kabonu, touched on concerns facing the institution.
There are simmering misunderstanding within the educational landscape as which institution is most appropriately positioned to award teachers, whether it is the licensing authority or the employer. Today, when you look at the mandate of the National Teaching Council, it is supposed to set standards. So when I got in, the first question I asked is, where is the Director General of the Ghana Education Service? And I don't mince words. We need to address this problem. Who is rightfully instituted to award teachers? Is it the employer or the standard setter? There is also one thing that is worrying the unions. The various agencies that have been established by law, that is the National Teaching Council, Curriculum, and Inspectorate, if they are educational institutions, they ought to begin behaving as such. At least for the National Teaching Council, we struggle to ensure that teachers are at the helm of affairs. But that is not the situation in some of the other bodies. We teachers will want to begin colonizing our own institutions.
Angel Kabonu asks for more recognition of teachers.
Let your work and selection be fair. Let all teachers feel being participants in this exercise. Let us try to work to expand the recognition of hard work, because I'm very confident that there are a lot of very hard-working teachers who may not have been shortlisted. And then we should find ways and means of recognizing the hard work that teachers do throughout the country.
Speaking to Joy News on the sidelines of the launch of Ghana Teacher Prize Award 2021, Vice-Chancellor of the University of Environment and Sustainable Development, Professor Eric Nyako Samson, expressed a need for government to make teaching lucrative.
Teachers are in demand. Teachers are in demand at now, because when you have people who are retiring, you have an organization where you have some of the workers retiring.
And that's it for Joy News Prime. My name is Ernest Binu.